Good morning, September 13th, 2025. Out here in my hotspot. I was out here a couple days ago, had a little bit of strange activity. Nothing too crazy, but it's like 7:30 in the morning, so hoping to maybe catch something. Let's go. All right, got my audio adjusted. Anyway, like I was saying, one thing I really like about this area, there's a lot of owl out here, which is actually a good sign. Like we've talked about before, when there's owl, there's a lot of rodents. There's a precedent for a food chain, in other words. If you're asking me what type of activity I've had out here, well, I've had some audio experiences. We've done a nighttime investigation out here, and I had some weird audio. Heard things that sound like wood knocks. I've had what seemed to be possibly things throwing objects at me. And I've heard on audio bipedal footsteps. I swore there was a person coming down the trail or going through the brush, and there was no one there. At least they didn't reveal themselves. On another trip, I caught a disembodied voice, or something that sounded like a disembodied voice. The disembodied voice is the only, what I would consider possible paranormal activity I've had out here. I don't know. It was weird. It didn't say anything that I could understand. Still have that summer foliage. I see a lot of these trails, and I don't know. I know there's some hunters have put up some stands out in the middle of nowhere out here. I don't know if they've started doing that. Hunting season starts in a few weeks, but I don't know the regulations. I've found 2 stands out here before, which I don't know, that makes me a little worried about activity. If there's going to be hunters around, they probably, if there's something out here, it's going to be less likely to be out here when there's hunting going on. So we'll see how much time I have left in the season. What's odd is when it got hot, the activity died. I had more activity when it was colder out here, and now it's getting cooler again. This weekend's supposed to be warm. There's a ribbon in the tree over here, which indicates someone's got a stand buried somewhere in here. Should tell the rangers. I don't think they're supposed to have a stand out here yet. So this area is a little intriguing to me. So there was a tree that went across the trail before, and someone removed it, and then not too long after that, there's another one across the trail. It's not a branch. I don't know where it came from. It's a very large section of a tree that was laid across the trail. So I brought my crow collar. I'm going to use that here in a second. It's a little experiment. I bought a crow collar, and I bought screaming cottontail, which is a distress signal. We're in the First Valley area here. So there's two ridges. I should say there's a ridge on each side of me. Anyway, I'm gonna try the crow collar. So the area I came in, there's a lot of wildlife. Back here, I don't hear too many. I hear some birds, I don't hear a lot. The trail is super dusty, if you can see that. No rain for a while, very little rain, I should say. So there's a lake nearby. I'm hearing, I believe, is trolling mower, fishermen. Everything echoes very well in the early morning hours when the world isn't stirring yet. There's no wind today at the moment, which is good. Maybe I can catch something. Hearing some walnuts falling. At least I assume it's just walnuts falling. This trail has multiple areas with walnuts, which is a good source of protein, as you would know. Have you seen a wild walnut? You would think you'd see more squirrels out here. Not this early, apparently. It's not even super early. I didn't want to get out here too early because this place is thick, and it'll be a little bit before we get more light. What I'm doing today, though, is I'm planning to spend several hours out here. So when I put the footage together, you're going to see different times of day. But I'm hoping, maybe I'll capture something later. You don't know. So this first part of the trail, I don't know if I've ever sensed anything or had any real activity around here, but I'm heading towards a little pond area, a watering hole, and definitely have had things happen back there because there's going to be animals back there, deer, raccoon, possum, muskrats, frogs, obviously. So definitely would hear noises back there. I've heard some really odd noises back there. Found a possible structure back there on one of my first explorations into this area. That's a weird feeling when you come across something that you can't exactly explain away as like it was in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't buried off trail. I was bushwhacking and I come across this little structure And I'm like, what did I just stumble upon, you know? Like, it's just a weird feeling, like thinking, whoa, maybe something is out here. This is interesting. It's a break off trail. Hmm. There is a camping area near the trailhead, but it's a slow weekend. There's it's your RV campers. Older folks enjoying the area. If you've been with me before, this trail it's an ancient trail, but it's not well maintained and it's not frequently used. It's kind of forgotten trail. And there are spider webs across the trail. I gotta be careful. I ran into one earlier. I just heard something this way. We're getting closer to the pond. Actually, we're not that close, so I think we got another ridge. Something's chattering. I hear some tapping. And chattering from this direction. Chattering happens when a squirrel is annoyed. So what's it annoyed with? So yeah, we're getting closer to the pond, and the frogs are going off. Something's walking along the bank, scaring the frogs. Since the water's down a little bit, I'm sure there's some animal prints along the banks. Yeah, definitely. Frogs. Maybe some muskrat? I don't know. This area back here is where I've heard some weird footsteps. This is like a unsanctioned part of the trail system here. I worry a little bit that there's a marijuana farm back here. And this is kind of the area where I found the structure too. I also call this the creaking tree trail because there is a tree that sways down here that sounds like someone crying. But there's not enough wind right now to sway it. And there's a weird odor down here. Could just be musty. Someone's definitely been cutting down here. Someone cleared part of the trail. I just saw that. Wasn't that Netflix series called, what was it called, Sasquatch or something, where it was all hyped up? It turns out to be about marijuana farming. How ironic. There's actually a pot farm back here. Of course it's legal around here, so I don't know why somebody would have an illegal operation. I don't know. I guess it's because it's cheaper to not to do it legally.
Last year, when I saw the creature, was completely mind-blowing.
Did you get a rough measurement of the footprint or anything?
Yeah, and it was 16 inches. And I was just walking over here, I saw that, and I was trying to figure out, okay, where did this thing come from? One of these trees had a break, but it wasn't just a break. It was twisted.
And then all of a sudden,
yeah.
there was just a big howl, roar, a big something, and nothing. The coyote stopped, the cricket stopped, I mean, everything stopped.
Turn the camera on and off real quick. This is also the area where another thing that happened to me back here was, I think it was early spring, and I heard what sounded like someone chopping wood, but there was only 3 chops. And I saw what appeared to be a figure bending down in the distance, and then kind of disappeared. I lost it, and then there was no more wood chops after that. Was it wood chops or wood knocks? And what was the figure that I saw? So when we did our night investigation, we came down to this area. And this is very close to where we heard crazy vocal. Now, vocalizations are pretty sketchy because there's a lot of crazy sounds that you'll hear in the woods. That was one that I thought was more interesting than your typical coyote or fox or something. It was more of a longer, drawn-out howl. And then, the woods kind of went a little crazy after the howl, so it's weird. So there's a tree limb going across the trail here. Could be natural. It's just something that looks like it fell or was pushed over. Do the crow call again. So you may or may not have noticed that I'm not with cameraman Russ today. Well, he's actually in a different section of the park doing his own investigation. I'm not entirely alone, but I'm alone. And as much as I like being alone in the woods, there have been times I don't know if that was a gun or a power knock. There have been times there have been times there have been times there have been times it didn't sound like a gun. I know I didn't capture that on audio because I'm using what's called a lav mic, L-A-V, lav mic. And it kind of cuts down on ambience. Holy crap. If that was a gun, I don't like it. They shouldn't be shooting back here. This isn't hunting season. This isn't private property. This is a park, state park. It's like 3,500 acres. If you're wondering why I'm not going towards what I thought might have been a power knock, it's because I don't know if it was a gun or not. It didn't echo like a gun. Oh, man. Okay. There's a really weird odor around here. It's very musty. I mean, we are on the back side of the pond, but it hasn't rained. It's a very weird odor. Can't describe it correctly. And the wind is picking up a little bit, which kind of sucks because that's going to mask sound if anything is walking around here. My heart's racing, I'm not gonna lie. Don't really want to have a shootout in the woods. Why would somebody be firing a gun in a state park? Not only that, it was one shot. Like, just one. If someone's having some recreational shooting, why would they fire one shot? They can't be hunting. And it didn't sound like, I don't know, didn't sound like something that could take down a deer. It's not rifle season, folks. September 13th. Spiderweb. Duck under it so I don't destroy his meal. I always, when I have activity, it's in this area every time. It doesn't start until I get down to the pool, the watering hole. I just heard another wood knock. Drew crow call. Follow me out. if I'm being observed, I'm certainly not going to fool it. I did bring a thermal imager, but as you can see, the undergrowth is so thick right now, I'm not going to capture anything on thermal. Just trying to listen to see if I hear anything else. Heard another, I don't know, like another noise over here, like a knock. Again, there's acorns, so I can't put too much trust in calling it a knock. What I heard earlier, though, was either a gunshot or a power knock. I'm going to call it a power knock because it was loud. I don't like that term, to be honest with you, because you don't know what the hell it means by a loud knock. Doesn't mean like it's aggressive or anything, but it was loud. Still have not heard more than one, just for the record. For those of you who are unfamiliar, it would be kind of weird just to go in the woods and take one shot. And if you're hunting, okay, that's different. It's not hunting season. It was just one shot. I haven't heard anything since like that loud. I heard that other noise that sounded like a wood knock by the pool. I don't know if I'm too foolish or what, but like my heart rate went down. Like I'm not freaking out by any means right now. I've heard gunshots in the woods before. That one was a little close if it was a gunshot. Looking at a large X pattern over there. This area looks totally different in the spring and fall, winter. You could see all the way across here, and it's just 1,000 straight tall trees. It's kind of a swampy, musty area. Not right now, it's all dry, full of nettles. Wouldn't be a human back there because they'd be walking through nettles the whole time. Had to adjust my exposure there. Sorry if that looks weird on camera. And it looks like we've met up with fellow researcher, cameraman Russ. Coming from the other side of the loop. Russ, I either heard a gunshot or a power knock. What's real weird about it is, it was just one. It was super loud. You would think it's first of all, it's not hunting season. If someone's out here for recreational purposes, why did they do just one shot? It was kind of after I did a crow call, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? Hear anything over there? Nice. Let me get in front of you here. Any owls today?
If I did, it was very faint.
Yeah, I was saying, I always get weird stuff happening down here by the pond. So I went to the trail behind the pond and did a little bushwhacking. I was talking about, I hope there's not a marijuana field back here, because, you know, people do stuff like that. But whatever I heard wasn't like right next to me, but it was close enough to where it scared me a bit. It was just one super loud bang. Didn't sound like a gunshot, but it could have been. You know how that goes. It was super loud though. And I'm like, well, if that's a gunshot and there's a marijuana field back here, I'm not going that way. I just heard something else. A little bit of tapping. The wind is picking up a little bit up high. So this area the other day is where a bunch of commotion took place. Like I heard an owl at a distance, and then up on this ridge, a deer took off. It was farther away from me. I don't think it saw me, I don't know. And then a squirrel started barking really bad. And then a crow came. And then about 5 minutes later, the owl flew up in a tree next to me. It was super neat. I couldn't get a shot of it, not with this lens. I tried to pull my phone out to zoom in on it, and it took off right when I got my phone out. Man, there's that odor again. Some large walnuts down here. Another point about the walnuts is that if you see how big they are, if that drops from any distance, it's going to make a loud thud. So, I mean, if it hits a branch on the way down, it could potentially sound like a wood knock. also had an experience where it kind of felt like something was escorting me out of the forest here, because I kept getting what sounded like things being thrown at me on the way out. Hearing some tapping again. I made the rookie mistake of, I don't have external audio on me today. I was going to come back with the parabolic and do a little bit more. Russ has the GoPro running, which can capture some environmental sounds though, so. I hear wood tapping and squeaks. I don't know what that is. Some type of bird. Some type of woodpecker, I assume. And kind of feel like we heard that same kind of squeaky sound in Siloam last weekend. It almost sounds like a chimp chatter. Just some advice, if you're in the woods this time of year and you are in the area where walnut trees grow, and oak trees, acorns, walnuts, they do make sounds in the woods. Don't assume that you're hearing things that are being thrown at you. Usually you can kind of tell, because when they drop down, you'll hear the rustling of the leaves, like where they're dropping in the same area. It's not like it's coming through the forest, like you could hear it being like the leaves being hit from a distance and getting closer and closer and closer, and then you hear it drop. That's something being thrown at you. If you hear a sound where you can probably figure out that it's just dropping more or less straight down, that's just a walnut or an acorn falling. I'm gonna do one more crow call. We're getting towards the end here though. So I'm getting near the end of the adventure today. I'm gonna come back in here with the parabolic dish, do a little research with that. If I catch anything interesting, I'll post it in the video as well. But yeah, heard what sounded like a power knock, and then another knock around that pool area with the watering hole, where I always have that weird stuff happen. And this is an area cameraman Russ and I did a night investigation. I think once it cools down, temperatures cool down a little bit more, as fall progresses, we'll be out here again for another adventure, a little nighttime investigation. Definitely will be back here again. On the Squatch meter, I'd give it a 3. Possible activity, needs more research. Until then, stay frosty.